Once again, Christian greetings to all our valued listeners and viewers throughout the whole world, even more particularly to all Shepherd's Rod believers, and most especially to our beloved brothers and sisters in the United States of America. Special greetings to our brethren in Colorado, in Georgia, our brethren in Kansas, and Texas, in Missouri, and Chicago, Illinois, Fiji Island, Mexico, Spain, Africa, Kenya, Zambia, Pakistan, to the United Kingdom, and also to our brethren in Australia, and to the rest of the 144,000 living saints scattered abroad, greetings. And this is our special episode number 1, the subject, the 144,000 going out of Egypt. Now, let us read 1SR on page 101. It says, "It has been made clear that Israel after the flesh is a photograph of Israel by the promise. In the Exodus movement, all the tribes went out of Egypt. If this is a photograph of Israel by the promise, then all the 12 tribes must come out now as well. 12 tribes must escape the ruin of Ezekiel 9, death of the firstborn, and Isaiah 63, the Red Sea. The number of them is said to be 12,000 from each tribe, making a total of 144,000. 1SR page 101. So the voice of inspiration is plainly telling, brethren, that all the 144,000 will get out of Egypt. And the voice of inspiration is admonishing us to prepare for that event. Here in 1SR page 64, it says, "This experience of the Israelites in departing from Egypt was written for the instruction of those who should live in the last days. Before the overflowing scourge shall come upon the dwellers of the earth, the Lord calls upon all who are Israelites indeed to prepare for that event." Volume 6, page 195. The 12 tribes of Israel after the flesh are but a type of Israel by the promise, the 144,000. Now, the statement is very plain that we need to prepare for that event. And the question is that in 2TG 31, on page 3, it says, "Shall this returning be unexpected?" That is pointing to returning to the promised land. "Shall this returning be unexpected? Or shall the Lord first send someone to prepare his way? And if someone is to precede his coming, who will it be?" And he answered and told them, "Elijah verily cometh first and restoreth all things." 2TG 31, page 3. So, the statement is very plain that that returning to the promised land, it is not an event by which the 144,000 will be surprised. For God will send first antitypical Elijah the Tishbite to warn the people to prepare for that predicted event. And the Shepherd's Rod declared clearly here in 2SR 275. Let's read the statement. 2SR page 275. You will also note on page 222 that the 430 prophetic years originally applied to Abraham and his seed overlap the 430 of Ezekiel chapter 4. The 430 years of Ezekiel should terminate in 1929 or 1930. But the perfect fulfillment of the prophetic period of Abraham in its antitype is yet in the future, going out of Egypt. So, the shepherd's rod declared it plainly that that protected event, going out of Egypt, is still future in the days of B.T. Hadad. And our burden in this study is to prove to you that this year, the year 2021 and the year 2022, is the year that had been predicted that the 144,000 spiritual Israel, they will get out from Egypt. In 2021, they will get out from Egypt spiritually. But in 2022, they will get out of Egypt physically. And hoping that you will take note of all the passages that we are going to read. Now here in one is our pocket edition, page 53. It says here, having now seen that Israel going into Egypt is typological, logic rules that so also must be Israel going out of Egypt. So, that is pointing to two predicted events. Going into Egypt and going out of Egypt. Now, I would like to read 1 SR on page, let's read the statement. Page 73. It says, Israel arrived in Egypt in the second year of famine. 1 SR, page 73. So, it says that Israel arrived in Egypt on the second year of famine. So, that is the photograph, the type, going into Egypt on the second year of famine. Therefore, this subject, going into Egypt and going out of Egypt, is closely connected to the subject, the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of famine. And here, brothers and sisters, we can really appreciate the divine program, which is perfect, because God is an infallible God. Here in 1 SR 232, it says, as God is infallible, all His works spell perfection, even to one jot or one tittle. Then it says, by all Bible students, Numbers 3 and 7 are accepted to be the biblical numbers to ascertain scriptural truth. 1 SR 232. So, there are two numbers given in that reading, number 7 and number 3, to be the scriptural numbers to ascertain scriptural truth. But in other statement in the shepherd's rod, number 5 is also one of the number which indicates the Bible. Number 5. according to track number 3, 1934 edition. So I would like to read the statement here. Let's read the statement. Page, I think it is let me see, where the Shepherd's Rod says that number 5 is the number of the Bible. So, quoting, where's the statement? Page 69. Number of the Bible. It says, the parable in the 20th chapter of Matthew explains that the Bible contains 5 time messages, namely early in the morning, the 3rd hour, the 6th hour, and the 9th, and the 11th hour, 5 in all. This symbolical cause proves to be all the time messages in the Bible from the day it began to be written to the close of probationary time. That is, when these messages are proclaimed to the world, the Bible will be an exhausted book as far as any one after that. This subject is fully proved in the Shepherd's Rod Volume 2, page 222 and 238. Therefore, the numerical value of the Bible is 5. So the numerical value of the Bible is 5, according to the Shepherd's Rod. So, in this study, the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of famine, brothers and sisters, is illustrated by number 7, number 3, as well as number 5. Now, let us read first 1SR. So here in 1SR, on page 15, it says, meaning of 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine, found only one way. So, 7 years of plenty and also 7 years of famine. Do not forget our reading that the type going into Egypt, ancient Israel, entered into Egypt on the 2nd year of famine, according to 1SR page 73. And here, brothers and sisters, the only way that you can be able to comprehend this wonderful subject is by establishing the Bible pattern calendar. And there are only 7 patterns of Bible calendar, for there are only 7 days in 1 week. So, that is easy to understand. And I would like to show to you, very simple, the illustration. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do we have that pattern? Pattern number 1. April 1 is Wednesday. If we have that pattern, so we could show to the brethren. The 7 patterns of the Bible calendar. Pattern number 1. Then we have pattern number 2. Then pattern number 3, then pattern number 4, pattern number 5, then pattern number 6, pattern number 7. 7 patterns, Bible calendar. So here, brothers and sisters, April 1, because that is the beginning of the year in Bible calendar. April 1, then April 1, then April 1. So this one is, April 1 falls on Wednesday. I do not know this brother. Then pattern number 2. Let me see. I forgot the pattern. I think fall on Friday. So, is that you have hard time to find Saturday. Now, pattern number 2, April 1 fall on Saturday. So, the divine pattern, there must be 3 days, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then we have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So, pattern number 3, Tuesday. Then we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So, it was Friday. Then, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it is Monday. Then, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. This one is Thursday. Then, this one is Sunday. So, then go back to the same pattern. So, there are only 7-year cycle in Bible calendar. There are only 7 patterns because there are only 7 days in 1 week. So, pattern number 1, April 1 is Wednesday. Pattern number 2, April 1 is Saturday. Pattern number 3, April 1 is Tuesday. Pattern number 4, April 1 is Friday. Pattern number 5, April 1 is Monday. And pattern number 6, April 1 is Thursday. Pattern number 7, April 1 is Sunday. So, these are the 7 patterns of the Bible calendar. There are only 7 cycles, brothers and sisters. Then, go back to the same pattern. So, now let us proceed to our study. And we will prove to you that God is absolutely perfect, brothers and sisters. And we will show to you the 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine in 3 phases. Because we are trying to prove these 3 numbers given in the Bible. 7, 3, and 5. So, the 7 years of famine and the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of famine, there are 3 phases, brothers and sisters, in its antitypical fulfillment. Now, since there are 2 jubilee, the deliverance of God's people will be on the year of Jubilee, and the second visible coming of Jesus Christ is also on the year of Jubilee. Both of them is in the year of Jubilee. Now, I would like to read the statement, brothers and sisters, here on early writings, let me see. On early writings page 285, it says the deliverance of the saints, or deliverance of the saints. Then I would like to read page 286. It says, then commenced the Jubilee. It says, then commenced the Jubilee, when the land should rest. I saw the pious slave rise in victory and triumph and shake off the chains that bound him, while his wicked master was in confusion and knew not what to do. For the wicked could not understand the words of the voice of God. So the voice of God, that is the voice that delivered the 144,000 at midnight in early writings 285. So the deliverance of the saints, the final deliverance, is on the year of Jubilee. So and also the commencement of the millennium is also on the year of Jubilee. So let us read 2SR. 2SR page 252. A computation of like manner was employed to define the year of Jubilee. Say the Lord, and thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years. And the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years. Leviticus 25 verse 8. The 50th year, while the land rested, being also a type of the millennium, showing that the land shall keep a Sabbath rest, a like computation is used. Therefore, at the beginning of the 1,000 years is the commencement of the Jubilee in its antitype. So, that is very plain. The shepherds had made it so plain that the commencement of the 1,000 years is the year of Jubilee. And that is the second visible coming of Jesus Christ. So the visible coming of Jesus Christ is in the year of Jubilee. Now, brothers and sisters, we know that when Jesus Christ ascended to heaven, that is also in the year of Jubilee. Now let us read in Bible commentary. Bible commentary. So let us read here on 6 BC. The statement given by 1055. 6 BC 1055. The time had now come. The Spirit had been waiting for the crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension of Christ. For 10 days, the disciples offered their petition for the outpouring of the Spirit, and Christ in heaven added his intercession. This was the occasion of his ascension and inauguration, a jubilee in heaven. So, 31 AD is the year of Jubilee. And one of the significance, brothers and sisters, of the 40 days, when Jesus Christ stayed from resurrection to his ascension 40 days, is to indicate that, as stated in the Bible, that in the same manner, Jesus Christ also will come, according to Acts chapter 1. Or, in other words, Jesus ascended in heaven on the year of Jubilee, so Jesus will return to this earth on the year of Jubilee. Acts chapter 1 verse 11, which also said, Ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? The same Jesus, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. So, in like manner, that is, the ascension of Jesus Christ is visible. So, the statement in like manner is pointing to the visible coming of Jesus Christ, which must be also on the year of Jubilee, and signifying 40 days, the 40th Jubilee from 31 AD. So, we can easily understand, brothers and sisters, that April 18 to May 27, 31 AD, then 31 AD, 40 days, typifying also the 40 Jubilees. From 31 AD to 2031 AD, that would be 40 Jubilees. So without any doubts, the year 2031 is the year of Jubilee. That is the visible coming of Jesus Christ. But we do not know the definite time, because 2031, there are 360 days. So the only knowledge that bestowed by God to His people is the year. The year of the visible coming of Jesus Christ on the year of Jubilee. And it could no longer be on the next Jubilee. That will be 41st Jubilee. There will be no more significance. And it must be perfectly corroborating to the number 40. The 40 days from Christ's resurrection to His ascension. So, that is from 31 AD to 2031. That is 40 Jubilees, which is 2,000. Because 2,000 divided by 50 equals 40. So, there are 40 Jubilees. So, 2031 AD is the 40th Jubilee. Brothers and sisters, without any doubt, 100%, the year 2031. But this is Bible calendar. The year 2031 AD is the visible coming of Jesus Christ. Now, and we would like to show to you how perfect, brothers and sisters, the illustration in the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of famine. As I've said, that there are 3 phases, because how do we explain number 7? Pointing to the 7 patterns of Bible calendar. How do we explain number 3? It is the 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine has 3 phases. And the illustration is perfect, brothers and sisters. Now, let us go first to the first, I would like to say, the first phase. Brothers and sisters, now, let us go to our first diagram, to the actual 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. The actual. Now, 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. Now, some brothers and sisters, they oppose this message because they say that the cross is the dividing line. The cross as the dividing line is another phase of typology. As the 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine is illustrated into 3 phases. Because number 3 is the number of God. Now, for example, let us read 1 SR. 1 SR. Now, let us read 1 SR, the statement given by the shepherd's rod. Page 19. 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. The 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine in the days of Joseph in ancient Egypt represents the world's history in two sections of time as previously explained, namely BC and AD. Each one of these sections bears the biblical number 7, meaning complete. So, we need now to trace up the entire years of BC as the 7 years of plenty, and the entire years of AD as the 7 years of famine. Brothers and sisters, now concerning the entire years of BC and the entire years of AD, of course, the dividing line is, brothers and sisters, 1 BC, between 1 BC and 1 AD. That is the dividing line. Because we are talking about BC and AD. The cross is 31 AD. That is not the commencement of AD. So we need to study the shepherd's rod in its complete, brothers and sisters, illustration. So we need to study first the illustration, the first illustration, BC and AD. But in order for us to understand, we need to look at the actual occurrence. Now, let us go back. The actual occurrence of, this is not the actual. So, this is the actual occurrence. Where we got 1921 BC. All our dates is taken only from the Golden Bowl. We never use outside sources. So, I would like to read first track number 3. I would like to read that reading in page 94. It says, track number 3, page 94. Let's read the statement. He finds discrepancies. I would like to read in the upper portion. So it is with the Bible when one looks at a subject from a standpoint foreign to the authors. He finds discrepancies in the position held by the one who sees the subject through the author's eyes. In order, consequently, to maintain the false idea resulting from his parent point of view, he is led to resort to outside sources, to one commentator or the other, to this version or to that, to technicalities and inferences of language in the Greek, in the Hebrew, in this, in that, or in the other languages, none of which it is likely he himself either reads or writes, or to referring to this or that so-called original manuscripts, which in all probability he has never seen. So, for me, the only authoritative that explain the Bible is the shepherd's rod. So anything outside from the shepherd's rod, that is outside sources. Now, I would like to read answerer number 5, page 55. It says, the Bible and the books of the Spirit of prophecy being the sole source of the shepherd's rod message. So what is the sources of the shepherd's rod message? The Bible. And what else? The books of the Spirit of prophecy. What books? B.T. Hotep uses the writings of Ellen G. White. B.T. Hotep uses the writings of Alonzo Jones. B.T. Hotep uses the writings of Waggoner. B.T. Hotep uses the 3 horses in his Zechariah 1 verse 8 to 10. So that is the sole source of the shepherd's rod message. So it says, the Bible and the books of the Spirit of prophecy being the sole source of the shepherd's rod message. Therefore, when the rod is taught, the Bible and the spirit of prophecy are taught. So we need to teach it in the light of the shepherd's rod. Now, to repeat, how do we come up 1921 BC as the call of Abraham? And what call? That is the call of Abraham to get out from Ur, not from Haran. Now, 1921 BC. How do we come up 1921 BC as the call of Abraham to get out his country? What country? Ur. So the country of Ur. How do we come up 1921 BC? By the shepherd's rod. Now let us read, brothers and sisters, the shepherd's rod. 1 SR, and in this study, we can prove to you 100% that the year 2021 and the year 2022, the last 2 remaining years given to us, brothers and sisters, to all Sabbath keepers. Now, I would like to read 114 and 115 in 1 SR. It says, the prophecy made to Abraham of 430 years ended at the time the children of Israel went out of Egypt, which is according to Bible chronology, King James Version, 1491 BC. When does the children of Israel went out of Egypt? 1491 BC. And it says, according to King James Version. What is the statement given by the shepherd's rod concerning the King James Version, brothers and sisters? The shepherd's rod made it so plain that the only version which is dependable is the King James Version. Now let us read 2 SR 118. It says, 2 SR 118, it says, the King James Version is as dependable as any good translation. 2 SR 118. Here's another statement in the Old Symbolic Code. 3 Symbolic Code, number 7, page 4. 3 Symbolic Code, number 7, page 4. Moreover, the King James Version is the one to be depended upon. For the other translations of the scriptures were in some instances interpreted in the light of sectarian views, and thus, instead of being exact renderings of the scriptures, they contain thoughts in favor of the translator's personal belief. So, being recommended by the shepherd's rod, that only the King James Version, which is dependable, because that version, King James Version, it was translated by John Wycliffe, the morning star of Reformation. In the Great Controversy, you can quote that statement. John Wycliffe is the morning star of Reformation. Or, in other words, the only translation of the Bible by which the one who translated is inspired by God is King James, translated by John Wycliffe. And that is the reason why it was recommended by the Shepherd's Rod publications. So in Great Controversy, page 80, Wycliffe is the morning star of Reformation. Now, since the Shepherd's Rod made it so plain, brethren, that it was in 1491 BC by which Israel went out of Egypt, then we need not use any dates except for 1091 BC. Unless you could find in the Shepherd's Rod publications other dates rather than 1491 BC. King James Version. Now, let us read one SR Packet Edition. One SR Packet Edition on page 70, page 71. One SR Packet Edition, page 71. Finally, Moses' arrival in Egypt and his success in freeing the Hebrew host and restoring order and religious liberty in 2513 Anno Mundi. What does it mean? Years from creation. So, now it's easy now to locate, brothers and sisters. The Shepherd's Rod says, when does Israel went out of Egypt? 1491 BC. How many years from creation? 2,513 years. That is the statement in 1 SR Packet Edition, page 71. Now, 2,513 plus 1491 plus. Then we have 4, then 10, then 10, then 4. Therefore, that is 4,004 BC. 4,004 BC. From creation to the event going out of Egypt. But what creation? Is it creation week? No, brothers and sisters. So by studying the Shepherd's Rod, we can easily discern the historical event. Brothers and sisters, from creation down to the general close of provision. Now let us connect first the first seal. Let us connect the first seal in track number 15. I think page 39, by which you can see track number 15, page 39. So you can see 4,000 BC. Track number 15, page 39. There is a drawing, white horse, then the man riding on the horse, and then at the bottom there is a label, 4,000 BC. You see, that is 4,000 BC. Then let us read the statement here. Page 39 in track 15. Naturally, the first seal, the seal with which the judgment opens, must contain the things at the very inception of the human race. Logically then, the white horse, the first in the symbolism, identifies the world's first state of being pure and sinless with a divinely crowned ruler, rider, who at first had no goal but to subdue the earth and to fill it with eternal godlike beings. The earth itself was wrapped in a garb of beauty and purity, with all the wonders on land and in sea. Nothing was wanting. So that is very plain, brothers and sisters. Therefore, since our duty is to prove that the Shepherd's Rod is absolutely correct, brothers and sisters, then we can easily discern that this verse in the Bible, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So, that the first two verses in Genesis, let me illustrate to you. Therefore, we can easily discern that from the time the earth had been created, 4004 BC, there are 4 years that the earth is void and without form. So the creation week begin in 4000 BC. So there are 4 years by which the earth is void. It is still empty. And these 4 years is pointing also to the 1,000 years. And we will prove to you, brothers and sisters, the 1,000 years is symbolically pointing to 4 years. So the 4 symbolical years is 1,000 years in this instance. Now, let us now go back again, brothers and sisters, to the 430 years. The 430 years history and prophecy. And I would like to read 1 SR. Here in 1 SR, let us read this statement. On page 116. Why would God make a double prophecy for the same thing? Because the old prophecy, the type, only gives the details from the beginning of the third angel's message to the fulfillment of Ezekiel 9. The prophecy by Ezekiel gives the information in detail from the beginning of Luther's Reformation to Ezekiel 9, marking of the 144,000 and unrolling of the scroll. So, this statement is very wonderful and reveals a great truth, brothers and sisters. That all the fulfillment, the perfect fulfillment of that double prophecy is fulfilled in the year 2021 and 2022. And we will prove to you gradually, brothers and sisters. Now let us study first the life of Abraham. Right? Now let us read the 1888 message. So, it says here, written by Alonzo Jones, chapter 3, the separation of church and state. So, it says the separation of church and state. Meaning, brothers and sisters, at the time when the church and state will be implemented, that is also the time by which God will completely separate His church from any state. Because God will establish a theocratic form of government. Now, let's read. I would like to read first Hebrews 11 verse 8. When God said to Abraham, "Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee." Abraham went out, not knowing whither he went. So this is the commentary given by the Voice of Inspiration. There were 3 things, however, which Abraham must do before he could fairly expect God to show him the country which he had promised and which was to be his. First, he was to get out of his country. Secondly, from his kindred. Thirdly, from his father's house. So there are three things. It says, first, get out. So I would like to enumerate. So there are three things recorded in the Bible that God required Abraham. Three things. First, get out of his country. And second, get out of his father's house. And of course, third, get out of his kindred. Now, these three things was fulfilled in different periods of time. Now, let us read the statement. It says here, he left his country, but when he did so, his father and his kindred, went with him to Haran and dwelt there. So the country of Abraham is Ur. But when he left Ur, his father's house and his kindred accompanied him. And they dwelt in Haran. It says, there his father died. And now separated from his father's house, he went on to the land of Canaan. Now, let us read Patriarchs and Prophets. Patriarchs and Prophets. So, let us read the statement given by the Spirit of Prophecy, 125. Patriarchs and Prophets, page 127, rather. 127. The call from heaven first came to Abraham while he dwelt in Ur of the Chaldees. So, let us ponder deeply this reading. Patriarchs and Prophets 127. The call from heaven first came to Abraham while he dwelt in Ur of the Chaldees. And in obedience to it, he removed to Haran. So that is the first call of Abraham. He left Ur and then removed to Haran. But when Abraham left Ur, his father's house and his kindred accompanied him. So what Abraham been obeyed in the requirements of God? Only the first one, get out of thy country. But he had not yet been able to get out from his father's house, because his father's house accompanied with him to Haran. And then it says, thus far his father's family accompanied him, for with their idolatry they united the worship of the true God. Here Abraham remained till the death of Terah. But from his father's grave, the divine voice bade him go forward. So that is the second call of Abraham. After his father died, and at the time when they buried his father, the divine voice bade him go forward. But at that time, he had been able to separate from his father's house, but his kindred accompanied him, Lot. Now let us read again the statement here in 1888. So let us read. It says here, he left his country, but when he did so,
his father and his kindred went with him to Haran and dwelt there. There his father died, and now separated from his father's house, he went on to the land of Canaan. But there accompanied him yet one of his kindred, Lot, his brother's son. While Lot was with him, and he was thus not separated from his kindred, though separated from his country and his father's house, the time could come for God to show to him the land, nor the country which he would give him. But there came a day when Lot should be separated from him. Lot chose all the plain of Jordan and journeyed east, and they separated thus one from the other. Genesis 13, verse 11. So, there are three occurrences in the life of Abraham. Now, I would like to read first 1SR. 1SR page 116. It says, the 430-year period by Abraham did not have to do only with ancient Israel, but with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as well. Now, let us study first Abraham before we will study Isaac and Jacob. Although the lives of these people projects to the perfect fulfillment of the prophecy, pointing to the 144,000 living saints. That some of the event pertaining to the 144,000 living saints is projected by the life of Abraham, by which there are three things, brothers and sisters. Right? To get out of his country, his father's house, and then his kindred. So, there are three things that occurred in the life of Abraham. How about in the life of Isaac? And how about in the life of Jacob? But let us focus first to the life of Abraham. And since the shepherd's rod declared clearly here in 2SR 275, saying, but the perfect fulfillment of the prophetic period of Abraham in its antitype is yet in the future, going out of Egypt. So, in this study, the voice of inspiration is separated the going out of Egypt into three things as illustrated and projected by the life of Abraham. Going out of Egypt is spiritually, going out of Egypt literally, and going out of Egypt physically. So, unless we obey these three things, we could never enter into the kingdom of God. So I would like to repeat again. Going out of Egypt is still future in the days of Beti-Hotep. But I am not saying, brothers and sisters, that Beti-Hotep and with his faithful associates, they were partaking the spirit of Egypt. But in the prophecy, they were living in a period of time by which God's people are still in Egyptian bondage. Now, let us go back to our subject, brothers and sisters. When does the type, ancient Israel, entered into Egypt? Now let us read again the statement in 1SR, page 73. Israel arrived in Egypt in the second year of famine. And the quotation is Genesis 45, verses 10 and 11. Now, the same verse had been quoted here in page 76. Page 76. Now, let us read. The beginning of this denomination was typified by Israel's entrance into Egypt as previously explained. So, it says the beginning of this denomination. We know it begins in October 22, 1844. After the disappointment. The beginning of this denomination was typified by Israel's entrance into Egypt as previously explained. We shall now consider the truth of the land of Goshen. Joseph brought Israel into Egypt and gave them the part of the land to dwell in, which was the best land in the country of Egypt. And there Joseph nourished them, their flocks, herds, and cattle, and all they had. See Genesis 45, verse 10. The land of Goshen stands as a symbol of the United States of America, in which the church came into existence. While our country is productive like the land of Goshen, the richest in the world, and a Protestant nation, it is the best for missionary work, for it is made up of all nations, and therefore, like the land of Goshen, the most productive in Egypt, the world. But that is not, or that was not the entire life of God's people, ancient Israel in Egypt. Because the time came by which they no longer live as kings, but rather they had been greatly afflicted, as stated in the Bible and as also explained in the shepherd's rod. Now, I would like to read to you Answerer number 2. It says here, page 6 and 7. Next to draw them there, he brought thereabouts the 7 years of plenty, followed by the 7 years of famine. Whereupon he sent word to Jacob that Joseph was yet alive. And the overjoying news there sprang up in the father an irresistible desire to see his son. This and the life-taking hunger upon Joseph's brethren compelled them to remove into Pharaoh's land of plenty, where they lived like kings. You see, they lived like kings. But the time came, brothers and sisters, it says here, not purposing, however, to leave them there forever, the Lord did not let their living continue as pleasant as at the first, lest they refuse to take heed to Moses when he should come with the word that the time had arrived for them to go back home. But he brought about another saving providence, this time permitting unbearable hardship to befall them, so that when called, they would respond gladly. So that is God's miraculous providence. God allowed the Egyptians to afflict God's people very hard, so that, according to the voice of inspiration, that when God's servant will tell the 144,000, it's time to go home, they will respond gladly. But since, according to the shepherd's rod, I would like to read to you in 1 TG. Here in 1 TG number, I think number 9. It says here, uh, 1 TG number 9 on page 12. it says, the work of these three movements, Zechariah, Moses, and Noah, therefore, typifies every phase of our work. So, the experience of God's people in the last days cannot be limited to only one occurrences in the past. But it seems all occurrences in the past project the condition of God's people in the last days. Because the illustration that those who love to remain in Egypt, brothers and sisters, must be pointing to the Sabbath keepers. I would like to use the term. The Sabbath keepers under the banner of the third angel's message, by which they failed to receive the seal of the living God. Why? Because they loved to remain in Egypt, and they were represented by the grizzled horses. Here in 2TG, number 22, 2TG number 22 on page 26, it says, now is everyone's chance to decide to be either on the one side or on the other, either to reform and be led by the faithful bay horses, or to cling to the self-important grizzled horses and stay by them in the south country, there to perish. What is the south country? Egypt. Here is indeed a momentous decision to be made by every member of the denomination. It calls for action that will decide the future destiny of the laity as well as of the ministry. Now is your opportunity to act, and it is my wish and prayer that you and every member of the denomination choose to be on the side which this unveiled paradox of the ages plainly and definitely instructs you to be on. Do not let the grizzled horses deceive you any longer. Meet their fair speeches with thus saith the Lord. You take them to task on this strictly biblical truth. So, here the voice of inspiration says that how God's people in antitype had been in bondage by fair speeches and good words. Here in 2SR 265, it says, 2SR page 265. So, let us read the statement given by the voice of inspiration. 2SR from 264 and 265. My brethren, I beg you, hear the voice of the good shepherd. Awake, awake, put on the strength of Zion, put on the beautiful garments of Jerusalem, the holy city. For henceforth, from now on, there shall no more come unto thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. Shake thyself from the dust, arise, and sit on thy throne, O Jerusalem. Loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion. Isaiah 52 verse 1 and 2. As these words are so plain, how can we doubt or misconstrue their meaning? It must be that the church of God is asleep in the dust. Thy God is calling thee, O Zion, God church. The only object on earth upon which He bestows His supreme regard is in captivity. She is bound by her neck to men of good words and fair speeches. So, that is the statement, brothers and sisters. And the only way that such good words and fair speeches can be completely destroyed is through types and symbols. Now, we are now studying typological prophecy. And the shepherds have declared clearly that according to 1SR Packet Edition, let me read to you. On page 1SR Packet Edition, on page 73, it says, so completely disarming the enemy of souls, the great designer of these typological truths leaves the reader free to make his own choice. as to whether he will continue in the darkness or come out into the light of the Lord, no longer to wonder what church to join or what is truth and what is error. So this statement is perfectly corroborating to the statement in 2SR 255 saying the types are worked out to expose the error and to reveal the truth. The honest ones will shun the devil by embracing the facts and by walking in the light. So that is the statement in 2SR 255. So true types, true typological prophecy, as stated in 2SR 267, the great searchlight, brothers and sisters, that will unmask all the mysteries in the Bible, is God's powerful instrument to completely disarm the enemy using good words and fair speeches. Now let us go back again to our subject, brothers and sisters. Here in 1SR, brothers and sisters, I would like to read to you. Here, the 1SR on page 100. 1SR page 100. It says, in the third month, it is entitled Mount Sinai. So let us read the statement, brothers and sisters. It says, in the third month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. Now, how many years from the time they left Egypt to the time they arrived in Mount Sinai? So, we need now to study closely, brothers and sisters. It says, in the third month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Exodus 19 verse 1 and Exodus 20 verse 1 to 3. Here is where the 430 years ended, beginning with Abraham going out of Ur. Patriarchs and Prophets, page 760. Now, the statement is, brothers and sisters, I would like to say that, very puzzling. Because when they left Egypt, that is 1491 BC, according to the Shepherd's Rod. But when they arrived at Sinai, brothers and sisters, as stated in the Patriarchs and Prophets, and also in Bible commentary, I would like to read this reading. I do not know if we have the record of this statement. Now here, brothers and sisters, let us read the statement. In Bible Commentary, Volume 1, page 693, historical setting. Leviticus covers a period of but 30 days. The Exodus story ends with the account on the erection of the tabernacle and preparation for its dedication. It was completed in the first month, in the second year of the first day of the month. And that is Exodus 40 verse 17. So Exodus 40 verse 17. Inasmuch as the book that follows Leviticus, the book of Numbers begins with the first day of the second month in the second year. Numbers 1 verse 1. The intervening time is exactly 1 month. In the same month, the instruction contained in Leviticus was communicated to Moses, and in that same month, the events recorded in the book took place. So that is very plain, brothers and sisters, in such historical event that they arrived at Mount Sinai 2 years after, brothers and sisters, they left Egypt. So it could not be the same year, because that is 2 years after God's people left in Egypt. So that is the historical event. Now here in 187, I do not know if we have this, still 1 BC. The reckoning of the years from the Exodus. We find evidence of what approaches a reckoning by an era during the time of the 40 years wandering. Shortly before the children of Israel left Egypt, the Lord instructed Moses that this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Exodus 12 verse 2. And then proceeded with directions for holding the Passover on the 14th. The Israelites left Egypt immediately after the Passover on the 15th. Numbers 33 verse 3. On the spring month, then called Abib, Exodus 23 verse 15, and Exodus 34 verse 18, and Deuteronomy 16 verse 1. But later named Nisan, Easter 3 verse 7, and still so called by the Jews. So this is the statement given by such historical event. Now, I would like to read Patriarchs and Prophets. So let us read the Patriarchs and Prophets. Here in Patriarchs and Prophets, let us read the statement. On page, let me see, 301 and 302. Patriarchs and Prophets 301 and 302. Let me see that statement saying that they stayed in Sinai. 301, it says, in the latter part of the paragraph. And now before them, in solemn majesty, Mount Sinai lifted its massive front. The cloudy pillar rested upon its summit, and the people spread their tents upon the plain beneath. Here was to be their home for nearly a year. So, we know that is exactly 11 months and 15 days. And that is why it says, for nearly a year, they stayed in Mount Sinai. But they arrived in Mount Sinai on the second year from that time they left Egypt. So they left Egypt 1491 BC. So, of course, brothers and sisters, now, let us read first. Let's go back again to the statement. And in Exodus 19 verse 1, it says, in the third month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. What is the third month? That is June. April, May, June. Now, let us now look at the Bible pattern calendar. Saying, let us look at 1491 BC is pattern number 4. So that is pattern number 4. And April 1 fall on Friday. So, there is no other pattern that exactly fits to pattern number 4. April 1 fall on Friday, and the third month, June 1 fall on Friday, except pattern number 5. So, the Bible, the spirit of prophecy, and the shepherd's rod is perfect, saying that they arrived on Mount Sinai on the second year. Now, let us now make a little diagram, brothers and sisters. They arrived in Sinai at the second year. So that is the statement given by the voice of inspiration. Now, just compare pattern number 4, April, and pattern number 5, June. Because that is the clue given in Exodus 19 verse 1, the same day. Brothers and sisters. So, they left Egypt brothers and sisters. This is pattern number 4. 91 BC. And this one is pattern number 5, 1490 BC. The second year. This is the first year. The second year. 1490 BC. You see, the statement is perfect. They left Egypt on April 15. And they arrived in Mount Sinai June 15, the same day. The same day, the same date. And that is what B.T. Hotep says, that the date and the day are absolutely the same. April 15, Friday. June 15, Friday. That is the time they arrived in Sinai. So, from the time they arrived in Sinai, brothers and sisters, now, look at June 15, 1490 BC. So, these 430 years began when Abraham left Haran. That is 430 years. But 1491 BC, we have 1491 BC. That is the time they left Egypt. That is 430 years when Abraham left Ur. 430 years. So therefore, we can easily understand that when Abraham left Ur, at that time, Abraham at least 74 years old. Because at the time when he heard the voice again of God in Haran, Abraham was already 75 years old. So, we can easily understand that Abraham stayed in Haran for 1 year. More or less 1 year, brothers and sisters. And then after his father died, Abraham left Haran. And from the time Abraham left Haran, 430 years ended, brothers and sisters, in 1490 BC when they arrived in Sinai. But the 430 years when Abraham left Ur ended when they left Egypt. And that is, this one is Exodus 12, 40, and 41. This one is Exodus 19, verse 1, and Exodus 20, according to the shepherd's rod. Now, let us go back to not only the shepherd's rod, but as well as the Bible. And the spirit of prophecy, or the patriarchs and prophets. So, there are 3 events here, brothers and sisters, that we would like to show in the life of Abraham. When he get out of his country, when he left his father's house, and when he left his kindred. That 3 events. But we're typifying also the 3 events of going out of Egypt, spiritually, literally, and physically. So, this time, we need to left Egypt spiritually. Brothers and sisters, in order for our names to be retained in the Lamb's Book of Life. And on March 27, 2021, we need to left Egypt literally in order to receive the seal of protection. And then God will deliver us physically. Brothers and sisters, on September 22, 2022. Now let us go back to how perfect the illustration of the 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. So let's go back to the literal. So here, brothers and sisters, you can see that the beginning of the 7 years of plenty is in 1715 BC. And 1715 BC is pattern number 4. That is the actual event on the 7 years of plenty, brothers and sisters. And that is pattern number 4. Therefore, there must be 7 patterns. 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. Then 3. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, 1714 BC, pattern number 5. 1713 BC, pattern number 6. 1712 BC, pattern number 7. 1711 BC, pattern number 1. 1710, pattern number 2. Then 1709, pattern number 3. That is the last year of the 7 years of plenty. Now, 1708 BC, pattern number 4. That is the first year of famine. And we have 1707 BC, pattern number 5. Brothers and sisters, the second year of famine. So here we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and ended on pattern number 4. You see, pattern number 4. The 7 years of famine ended on pattern number 4. Now, let us go to the first illustration, brothers and sisters. BC and AD. So let us go. You see, 4004 BC, pattern number 4, perfectly corroborating to the exact pattern when the literal 7 years of plenty begins. Pattern number 4. Then, 1 BC is pattern number 3, perfectly corroborating to 1709 BC, the end part of the 7 years of plenty. So this is the first phase, the entire year of BC, from 4004 to 1 BC. There are 7 patterns, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Brothers and sisters, it is designed by God. And the shepherd's rod says that, I would like to read first this reading. And Here in 1SR. 233 and 232. Woe to him who may think all these wonderful designs in the beauty of perfection are just a chance or an accident. Such a one is denying the master mechanic of all creation. He is paying homage to evolution, chance. You think it is just a chance that the 7 years of famine, there are 7 patterns of Bible calendar, the literal occurrence, and the entire BC, also illustrated by 7 patterns, from pattern number 4 to pattern number 3. You think that is just an accident? No. It is purposive design. Here in 2SR 253, let us read this statement. 2SR 253. It is certain that nothing could fit so perfectly by accident. But think of such marvelous foresight in devising a wonder of this kind, which could reveal by a living picture the future for thousands of years. Are not such evidences as this a token of love divine toward fallen beings? Gratitude swells from our hearts. Words fail us. We can only exclaim with the psalmist, Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. I have sworn and I will perform it, that I will keep thy righteous judgments. Psalms 119, 105, and 106. Now let us go back again, brothers and sisters, to our diagram. Although it is no longer prophecy, it is history. Prophecy is advanced history, and history is fulfilled prophecy. And one of the significance, according to 1SR, 128, it says, if it is engraved on a tile, 1SR 128, if it is engraved on a tile, it cannot be erased. The thought is that the prophecy will surely come to pass, and after it once becomes history, one cannot erase the things portrayed. It is there to stay through all ages. Now, look at the historical event. From 1 AD, that is pattern number 4. You see? The same, brothers and sisters, with the historical event. The first phase of the antitype is BC and AD. Then we will go to the second phase, by which the cross is the dividing line. And we will show to you how perfect the Bible and the shepherd's rod. Brothers and sisters, there is no reason to doubt. Because you cannot find any mistake in this illustration. Now, 1 AD, that is pattern number 4. Brothers and sisters. And look at 1844 AD, pattern number 5. That is the second year of famine. Because just dwelling in the patterns, it seems that, of course, the next pattern to follow is pattern number 5. Pattern number 4, pattern number 5. The occurrence in the past, literally, the second year of famine is pattern number 5. Now, 1844, also pattern number 5. And the shepherds had made it so plain that in 1844, that is the antitype of Israel going into Egypt. And Egypt there, which is Goshen, is the United States of America. You see, type and antitype exactly fits. It must be on the second year of famine. When does the 7 years of famine ended? Pattern number 3, brothers and sisters. So we have pattern number 3, 2023, by which in Gregorian calendar, That is, brothers and sisters, 2021. 2021. Now let us go first to April 1. April 1, 2023 in Bible calendar. Okay. So that we could understand. April 1, 2023. You see, in Gregorian calendar, that is September 14, 2021. So we are now living the last year of famine, but with the promise is that all the foods that had been stored during the 7 years of plenty must be consumed. What does it mean? It must be completely understood. The entire plan of redemption. We are now living on that very year. Brothers and sisters, because the next year, 2022, that is already the time by which the original design of God will be finally restored in the premillennial kingdom. Brothers and sisters, it is no more famine. All are plenty. So that is the first phase of the illustration of the 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. And we will gradually show to you that how do we know that it must be 2023? Let us go first, brothers and sisters, to the last. I would like to show to you the last illustration. Although I think we have no diagram as yet. And the last illustration, brothers and sisters. 2031 is also, do we have that? The year of Jubilee, pattern number 4. So that is the entire, the actual, let us put here, 4004 BC, the actual year from BC, pattern number 4, to 1 BC. This is pattern number 3. So this is the entire BC. Entire BC, which is years of plenty. And then we will go to the other phase of the 7 years of plenty and famine, which is the cross is the dividing line. So from 1 AD to 2031 AD, this is the entire period of AD, which is called years of famine. It is pattern number 4, pattern number 4, and it is also pattern number 4. Now, let us count now. Pattern number 4. Pattern number 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 1, then 2, then 3. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You see, it was illustrated perfectly. 7 patterns. From pattern 4 to pattern 3, that is 7 patterns. 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Because this is pattern number 3. You see, brothers and sisters? Now, here, brothers and sisters, let us count here. The same. Pattern number 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 1, then 2, then 3. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then 7. So pattern number 4, that is the time that all had been, the entire AD is ended. So it is 7 patterns. So 2031 AD is the year of Jubilee, brothers and sisters. Now, how about, brothers and sisters, from 2031 AD, we will be in heaven 1,000 years. So that is 3031. So, let us look at the timeanddeath.com, 3031. 3031. So that is pattern. Pattern number 3. You see, brothers and sisters, is still the 1,000 years, brothers and sisters, is illustrating 7. Now, let us count now. Pattern number 4 to pattern number 3. Then, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Then, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, 1,000 years. Also illustrated by 7 patterns. Brothers and sisters. Now, how about the 100 years? Of course, from 3031 to 3131, that is 100 years. The little season after 1,000 years. Now, 3131. So that is pattern number 5. Now, look at, brothers and sisters, 100 years. From pattern number 3. 3, then 4, then 5. So, there are at least 3 patterns. 1, 2, 3. Corroborating, brothers and sisters, from 4004 to 4000 BC. 4000 BC. So from 4000, 4003, 4002, 4001, then we have 4000. So at least there are 3 years from 4004 BC to 4000 BC, corroborating to the 100 years after millennium. So, now let us go to the cross, which is the dividing line. Let us go to the cross, which is the dividing line. Let me show to you. So this is the cross as the dividing line. Remember, the perfect fulfillment of the 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine must be the time when the Bible had been begun to be written. Because the storehouse is the Bible. Now let us read 1 SR. It says here, page 15. When the perplexing subject is made clear, then we must believe that the time is here. But this, as all Bible truth, is found only one way and in one place, namely the storehouse, the Bible. And remember, the shepherds had made it so plain that from 4000 BC, there was no written revelation. How many years? Great Controversy page, the introduction. Let us read. The Great Controversy introduction on page 7. During the first 2,500 years of human history, how many years? 2,500. There was no written revelation. Those who had been thought of God communicated their knowledge to others, and it was handed down from father to son through successive generations. The preparation of the written word began in the time of Moses. Inspired revelations were then embodied in an inspired book. This work continued during the long period of 1,600 years from Moses, the historian of creation and law, to John, the recorder of the most sublime truths of the gospel. So you see, brothers and sisters, it's easy to understand. How many years? From creation week, 2,500. 4,000 BC minus 2,500. Brothers and sisters, 0, 0, 5, then 15. Therefore, that was in 15 BC. 1500 BC. The time by which the Bible began to exist. 1500 BC. So, let us go back to and we know the dividing line is the cross. So look at, brothers and sisters, to the diagram. So from 4000 BC, 2500 years, no written revelation. Then 1500 BC, that is pattern number 2. 31 AD, that is pattern number 6. How many pattern from 1500 BC to 31 AD, the dividing line, the cross? Only 5 patterns. Why? Because that is pointing to the Bible. The Bible, the numerical number of the Bible is 5. So in this illustration, no longer 7, but 5. So here you see, pattern number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then let us count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are only symbolically 5 patterns from 1500 BC to 31 AD as the dividing line. Now, brothers and sisters, so if this is pattern number 6, then the next pattern must be 7. 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there must be also 5 patterns, brothers and sisters, to symbolize the years of famine. And that is on the year 2024 AD Bible calendar. In Gregorian, that is 2022. Pattern number 4, brothers and sisters, which is pointing to the last year of the 7 years of famine, the deliverance of God's people. So that is very plain, brothers and sisters. Now, and look at, brothers and sisters, here, 4004 to 180, this is pattern number 4, right? Then, if we will count from 4004 BC, what is 4004 BC? Let us go to Bible pattern calendar. Now, so we will count beginning from pattern number 5. This is pattern number 4. So from pattern number 5, 2, 3, 5, 6. Pattern number 4, the end, the dividing line from BC to AD. Then from 180 to 2031, brothers and sisters, there is also 7 patterns, because it is pattern number 4. Then we have 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2031, where's 2031? 2031 is the end part of AD, which is the year of Jubilee, which is the second visible coming of Jesus Christ. Therefore, brothers and sisters, look at 1531. 1531 AD. Let us look at first the Bible calendar. 1531 AD. Pattern number 1. So let us go back. So 1531 AD, that is pattern number 1. Brothers and sisters. So this is pattern number 1. Pointing also to 1 AD. Brothers and sisters. This is pattern number 4. So here, You see, pattern number 1 is number 4, 1531. So you see the divine code is number 4, 1531 AD. But 1 AD is pattern number 4. And that is why B.T. Hotep says 1531 AD is predated. Then that is the fourth part of the earth, as in the subject of the 7 seals. So here we can see that 1844, which is pattern number 5, brothers and sisters, in this study, we know that that is the second year of famine, as recorded in the historical event. So, that is the first phase of our study to prove that 2021 and 2022 is the last 2 years. Why? Because the visible coming of Jesus Christ is in the year 2031. Let me show to you. So, 2031. And that 2031 is pattern number 4. So, we are now at 2021. 2021, brothers and sisters, but we are still on pattern number 2. Pattern number 2. Because pattern number 3 will begin on April 1. And that is in Gregorian September 14. September 14, 2021, that is already April 1 in Bible. April 1, 2023. And this is pattern number 3. So we have pattern number 2, then 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, then 4. So, pattern number 3, this is 2030. Pattern number 2, this is 2029. Maybe I would like to. So, I would like to put here. So, 2031, pattern number 4. 2030, pattern number 3. 2029, pattern number 2. 2028, pattern number 1. 2027, pattern number 7. Then 2026, pattern number 6. 2025, pattern number 5. 2024, pattern number 4. Then we have 2023, pattern number 3. 2022, pattern number 2. So we are now here, this year, 2022 in Gregorian 2021. Now, why is it that we are very certain that 2024 is the year of deliverance, the final deliverance of God's people? All the clue was given by God, more particularly to the Shepherd's Rod publications. The Shepherd's Rod says that the deliverance of God's people in Egypt, being the photograph, the deliverance of 144,000 spiritual Israel must be the same. If they had been delivered on Bible calendar pattern number 4, now let us look at 1491 BC. What pattern is that? 1491 BC. You see, that is pattern number 4. So, the restoration of Bible calendar given by God to antitypical Elijah the Tishbite, because he is the only one who can restore all things. That is the key that unlock all the prophecies, brothers and sisters. Whether it is parabolical, typological, symbolical, providential, allegorical, through the Bible calendar, all of them was completely revealed. And there are only 2 remaining pattern number 4. 2024 and 2031. So 2031 is the year of Jubilee. And we could no longer go backward. And since there are only 2 remaining pattern number 4, without any doubts, 2024, which in Gregorian calendar is 2022, September 22, 2022, that is the fulfillment that at midnight, God chose to deliver His people. And we will be in Mount Zion at that time, if we will be among the 144,000 living saints, without any doubt, brothers and sisters. There are many people who are saying that it is disgusting. You made many predictions but never been fulfilled. Although several times we tried to explain to them that that is the period of time by which God permitted His people to experience delays. Why is it that it was not materialized? Why is it that it was not fulfilled? Because it was recorded already in the Bible. As explained by the prophecy, explained by the shepherd's rod, that God's people will experience delays. What is the experience of William Miller? Brothers and sisters, no, they did not experience delay, but disappointment. That is why in Great Controversy 393, as type and antitype, concerning Midnight Cry, the first proclamation of Midnight Cry, the date that they set never been materialized, what they experienced, disappointment. But in the perfect fulfillment of the prophecy, they will also experience that the dates that they set did not materialize. Why? Because they need to experience delays. Brothers and sisters, if September 22, 2022, nothing happens, brothers and sisters, that is the time that you could say that what we are saying is false. And you need not to worry about it, because we will be the one who will voluntarily will proclaim throughout the whole world that we have been mistaken. And all the messages that we send did not come from God. Brothers and sisters, if September 22, 2022 will pass and nothing happened, brothers and sisters. And of course, what we need to do is to repent and humble down before God. If September 22, 2022, nothing will happen. But without any doubts, brothers and sisters, as far as the evidences have been given by God to us, through the Shepherd's Rod publications, through the Bible, and through the writings of Sister White, through the writings of Alonzo Jones and Wagoner, that date, brothers and sisters, is perfect. And that is the midnight deliverance by the voice of God. The 144,000 will be delivered and brought to Mount Zion. We will continue this subject, brothers and sisters. 144,000 going out of Egypt on our next episode, hoping that the good Lord will bless us and would help us. Thank you very much for listening and viewing this program.